Okay. It will help us also to build upon the result of this discussion. So trying after, even if Giovanni and Belen will have to quit the session, it will help us also to come back to you with what was discussed and what we can do.
Natalie, I have a question. Me and Belen, we are the first two.
Yes.
So would you mind at least a small session of question to, not a discussion, but just if they have clarification to give, I can stay a little bit more, because my lunch break arrives until 3:15 of set. So it's if it's needed, I can stay. I don't go away after my intervention. I can stay for the Belen one, and maybe we do a small session of answers if there is need. Okay.
Ricardo and Charalampos, are you okay with this? We do just a first round of presentations with Giovanni and Belen, and we use the remaining time until 3 o'clock to already discuss, and then we have a second round with you.
Yeah, that's okay for me. I think.
Okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Our moderator just arrived, Gustavo jumping in. Coitado. Gustavo, I just started the moderation, but you can hand over when you are. I can give you the floor when you are okay. Just helping you to arrive, okay? And
thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries. I will just share the first things before giving the floor to Giovanni and Belen. What I just wanted to say. So this is the third session we have in this webinar series. We already had a webinar series in October, where we addressed the socio-political political dimensions of nature-based solution. Gustavo, it seems that you are a little bit frozen. Maybe you'll have some connection issues. Maybe, but let's see. Do you see Gustavo frozen in the as well? Okay, so maybe you have some connections. No worries. We'll make it. In the first session last Monday, we addressed how nature-based solutions are connected or are implemented or contribute to rural communities. And then on the second day, yesterday, we addressed how to enable transformative governance for NbS, for nature-based solutions. And today we are in this part of digital tools, how using digital tools to support nature-based solutions. So it's this session of today is more, and the series of this month of March are dedicated of sharing knowledge for practice and policy. So you are from different institutions, different contexts, and this will help in discussing policy outcomes or policy contributions, and also practical contributions. So today we have 4 speakers. We will start with Giovanni. It's from Portugal. Here we'll go then with Belen in a first round, open to discuss, to raise some question, and in the second round we'll have Ricardo Almeida from CASPAE in Coimbra and Charalampos Spanos from the Cyprus Institute. He's a partner of the TRANS-lighthouses. And Gustavo will moderate when the technical issues are okay on your side. So Giovanni today is based in the UK, Belen in Peru, Ricardo in Coimbra in Portugal, and Charalampos in Cyprus. So a very international composition. So starting with Giovanni. So Giovanni is a researcher at the Center for Social Studies of the University of Coimbra. we challenge him today to set the scene for this webinar. Giovanni is an expert and a researcher on participatory democracy, democratic innovation, and participatory governance. And the three projects, if we highlight three projects that Giovanni participated in and coordinated, there is an EU-funded project, Phoenix, Nets for Democracy, and Urbinat. So Urbinat, as we already mentioned, is a project where we had the co-creation of nature-based solutions. And Net for Democracy, it's the current project of Giovanni, I think. And Phoenix was more introduced also this aspect of combining different tools for participation in the governance. So Giovanni, I'll give you the floor. Please go ahead.
Okay, I had to change the room because the meeting, the internet in my floor of the sesh is terrible.
Okay, so Gustavo, we noticed that you had some technical issues, so we started again. That now Giovanni is starting his presentation. Okay,
sorry,
no worries. And then we'll have Belen, and then we'll have some questions. So when Giovanni finishes, I'll let you introduce Belen. Okay.
Thank you.
So, do you see my screen? It's in the right format?
It's the star with the lighthouse star. Okay.
This is, okay, so this is
that's excellent.
mine.
We see. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for this opportunity of discussion. I think the $1 million question that lies behind today's session is to what extent and how data and digital technologies, including today the use of AI, may accelerate the use of nature-based solutions for maximizing the climate resilience, the protection of biodiversity, and sustainable urban design. In a moment in which we are facing environmental, societal, and I would say also democratic backlash pressures. I have been requested mainly to cut in this introduction to the work of other colleagues also. A small reflection on the role of digital technology in participation within a diffuse governance setting, starting from the recognition that for integrated, adaptive, and scalable solution, the traditional governance setting are not enough. They have to be complemented, and we know that the COVID period helped us to increase the literacy, the digital literacy of many people, including some elderly, and so we are in a situation that is very different from 4 years ago. Now, when nature-based solutions are address societal challenges related to the climate, the water, health, loss of biodiversity, in my work also wildfire, for example. So we visualize the nature-based solution as opportunities to provide the co-benefits. So at the same time, we reach different benefits. So in terms of biodiversity, well-being, a better economy. That is because, for example, as it happened in the project, the vision that we have today on nature-based solution include also human-based solution like solidarity economy, fair trade, new participatory setting that look to nature in a more respectful and harmonic way. So they can be considered a part of the nature as we humans are part of the nature when we respect the harmony with nature. And when we try to go beyond the paradigm of unlimited growth, that means not only we do things that go beyond this paradigm, but also we learn how to measure things in order to be able to demonstrate that we can go beyond this paradigm. So that means also renewing not only human action, but also indicator of measurements. I think that the challenges of governance we're looking to the NbS are that we have a fragmentation of data with different sources and a consequent fragmentation of decision making. We need for more integrated solution. In many cases, especially I'm working now here in the UK on a project on the southern globe. We have limited data availability and even places which are beyond the abyssal line, so they are not considered even useful for producing data. For example, informal settlements, areas which are not completely regular from a town planning and housing perspective. Instead, they are very important, but they are quite difficult to fix in data because they are subject to a strong turnover, for example, of inhabitants. And so you need to measure continuously the change that happen in this area. And then we have also low participation in many cases, which is also justified with the restriction to democracy and civic space we are passing through in many countries. And in some cases, we have participation, but we have a limited deliberative quality. So we reduce process to mainly voting on without a discussion or without deepening the dimension of convergency, so of consensus around the decision. So we simplify voting to like a sum of individual preferences instead of considering how much discussion can make individual preferences consolidate in a community setting where they become shared commons of the participant. And then we have a difficulty in measuring impacts, even some social and political impacts, because institutions are scared in many cases of evaluation because they think evaluation can be used by opposition, by the media against them. So all the mechanisms of measurement are not only complicated in themselves, but they are politically sensitive spaces. So the role of digital technology can be very useful in this case in different areas. For example, the data collection, like a remote sensor, for example, the data processing, like AI that work on big data, so allow us to have a pot of data resources very big and navigate it. And then we use technologies in communication through platform and application in the telephones, for example. And then we have decision support systems, so like platforms that serve for co-decision, now for co-design together. So these allow us, using these techniques, allows us to understand better the ecosystems, to improve the planning and design, to realize real-time monitoring, and to support participation with more quality of debate. Somehow the digital contribute to reform also the theoretical approach to policy making, because insert models like data-driven governance, so policy making based on evidence, adaptive governance, so continued feedback loops that help us to reimagine how to govern some phenomenon depending on how they are modified by the contingency and the situation in which they are, the larger framework. And also participatory governance, because this platform creates support to inclusion via digital platforms. For example, helping people to have safe spaces, for example, through anonymization, but also maintaining contact with the process to which they cannot be participating constantly, no, with rigor and continuity. It's very important when you do a participatory process to create a community that identify themselves with this decision-making process. And if you are too strict in evaluating how much people can participate, you can break this identification, this sense of belonging to the process of some people that feel they cannot be always there. So platform serves also to maintain this continuity, to allow people to watch a document, to say something next time, even if the previous time they couldn't be there. And they can do this without restarting the negotiation from zero. So maintaining continuity through the contribution of platform, for example, collaborative documents, memories to which they can contribute even if they were not there in the session. It's very important. So in this sense, the main digital tools that we can use when relating with NbS could imagine, I think, these 5 categories: GIS and spatial mapping, so for georeferencing a phenomenon on the territories. Satellite imagery that's also measuring through hot surface and can photograph the transformation of phenomenon, together with environmental sensors, which is another important category. Then we have AI predictive model that are based on their learning and their capacity also of clustering, for example, the idea and the phenomenon, the dynamics that they are photographing. And then we have the digital twins. I don't know how much familiar people here in this event are with digital twins, but we are talking about a virtual real-time representation of a physical object, a system, or even a process. Now, so for example, digital twins are used also for imagining protocols, for using some services. And the difference with the static 3D model or one-off simulation is that these digital twins constantly are updated with live data from the physical counterpart. No? So there is a constant univocal relation between the physical object and the digital twin. So also through sensor, no? This reflects the current state, the performance, and also the roundabout environment, which modifying the environment, the object can change. So they allow to shape the workflows and even imagine what if simulation. So what would happen if something different enter a new phenomenon, and this serves to optimize the performance or to perform predictive maintenance before failures occurs. So let's do some example of practical application. So in urban flood management, for example, sensor can track the rainfall and water levels. AI predicts the flow risks, and NbS can help to solve some of these problems through green roofs, permeable surfaces, and other things. Governance has a role, yes, because it's very important that people understand that when they ask for paving a street, they don't talk directly about asphalt, for example. No, they discuss about typologies of paving that can be more adequate to the situation of rainfalls, for example. So the result of this interaction between the NbS and the digital and AI tools is a better planning and reduced damages. No. If we take, for example, wetland restoration, so ecosystem restoration in general, we can use a satellite monitoring on vegetation, drones for mapping, and then we can create data dashboard for policymakers. Even here, participatory platform can help to everybody to be part of the policymaker category. So not only the traditional policymaker, but all those that have an interest as a citizen or as a producer or in the system. a practical application, so for example, in participatory platform, is that citizens report environmental issues. They can co-design green space. They can help to increase trust and ownership through being part of the solution, no, of a problem, and better understanding that there are problems that depends also on citizens. I mean, it is not a case of environmental issue, maybe in what I want to say, but for example, the relation between over-tourism and housing accessibility is a typical problem in which the political solutions are not enough, because one element of the problem is that people want to gain money with the houses, empty houses they have in their ownership. And so if people do not understand that they are part of the problem of emptying cities of inhabitants, it will be difficult to find a real solution, because politicians will be always shy to propose solutions that castrate the possibility of people to gain from their properties. No, so it's the importance of a discussion on some issue depends on this. Today, for example, a lot of asymmetry still exists in the relation of the use of digital and AI tools in fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030. There is a recent study of Nadine Casali-Bandera and others that shows that the literature concentrates on specific goals and almost ignore the others. But for example, there is an element that comes back always in several Sustainable Development Goals. For example, precision agriculture and predictive analytics based on permanent monitoring of demand offer, soil is solid here, but soil and biodiversity interaction. No, so these tools can favor new forms of resource management, optimizing the allocation and promoting also equitable access to essential goods. They can identify vulnerable regions and directing more assertive action and planning that strengthen the resilience of marginalized populations. So single elements can solve at the same time, can contribute to solve and to reach several of the sustainable development goals, especially in the face of natural disasters, of economic crisis. But this monitoring, the use of crowdsourcing platform, for example, for making the people who live in a place monitoring the phenomenon and the dynamics, can also promote new radical forms of agriculture. For example, let's think about syntropic agriculture. Syntropic agriculture means mixing species during the year, so in time and space, in order to increase biodiversity, and especially look into the soil, no? Alternating plants in order to give back to the soil more than we have extracted from it. So it's an anti-extractivist type of agriculture, no? And this can reduce a lot of problem of drought, of wildfires, of lack of water. So the way in which we cultivate a place and we monitor different cultivation and increase of biodiversity can improve the quality of the soil, of the water. It's extremely that, in my experience, people perfectly understand that within participatory process. We can imagine it's very complex, but in reality, it can reach through communication very simple ways of communicating with people. And I finish in saying, I know that it's time to end. I guess the voice of our moderator was for that. I think that the limits are always excessive reliance on digital system without adequate human oversight, because they can solve problem, but they also can exacerbate inequalities and disregard local knowledge. So all the automatism in which a machine substitute humans are dangerous. So I would say that then there are data privacy concerns, other type of gaps and bias, but it's very important to understand that the datification of nature, as all the post-colonial studies show, establishes form of epistemic colonialism in which we see we see a subordinate incorporation even of people points of view in participatory process. So these type of things are not a bug of the machine. They are a designed bias of epistemic nature and often racial nature. So it's very important to face this kind of problems, structural problem of digital and AI. Some type of resistance that, for example, was developed in indigenous nations in Brazil, in Amazonia, end up creating some protocols like the One Piece or the CARE principle that can serve to have more robust data ecologies in the construction of educated AI. And I finish saying that in this sense, it's very important how we educate and we train our AI. I did a process in Phoenix with Emilia-Romagna school students in which we asked them to advocate for non-humans, plants, rivers, animals. And in some moment we use AI, and we perceive clearly, we discuss with the student that the AI, when interrogated about what he would do if it was a river, was imagining a river not as an agent with his dignity, but interpreting the river as an interest for those who use the river for their economy. So there is a risk that if not well educated on specific text, the AI will transform natural agents into human interest related things. And that's why it's very important in this moment to work around a series of alliances that exist in this moment that favor hybrid system where the digital is always present together with moment of dialogue, in which people see the emotions, understand each other, dialogue, learn to listen to the other. And the AI have to be educated to that. So, for example, we are having in this moment some actors that are working around this. Also, for example, here I put TREE, the real network that is testing and educating on millions of documents of local democracy. The AI that Google funded for them for 3 years. There is this network of French organization Commune Démocratique. There is the Italian Association of Regions that is working on AI in this Regia, and they have a very important element related to nature and natural based solution in order to help this technical instrument to learn from experience that is not based only on a patriarchal and a neoliberal society, but has other vision incorporated in it. So I think that this is a very important learning that we have to do, and we have to join this type of alliances because we are in the moment in which, like a person, but with more dangers because they work on a flow of larger number of documents. The AI are an educated person. We don't know how it has been educated. So we have the potential to educate some of these AI in order to work with a different perspective also on natural basis solution, more harmonic with the human beings. Thank you very much indeed, and for your patience.
Thank you so much, Giovanni, and for a very stimulating presentation, giving also an overview of different aspects of digital tools and their potentials and challenges. Now I will go to Belen. Belen is my son. He's an architect and urban researcher working on citizen participation, climate change, urban planning, and with a focus in the Amazon. And she's coordinating the action research project CASA, self-sustainable Amazonian cities, which is how we got to know her and to invite her and her colleague Kleber to participate in this project. And also the projects Know, Knowledge in Action Towards Urban Equality in Lima, GRIP, Gender Responsive Resilience and Intersectionality Policy and Practice, and BALSA, Self-Sufficient Boat for Laboratory and Services in the Amazon, which is the other project that both BALSA and CASA are very relevant and interesting projects for also integrating digital aspects. So she has received various recognitions, and she will actually be presenting today, so I won't take much more time. Belen, the floor is yours. If you want to, thank
Can
you.
you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yes.
So
Thank
Gustavo
you.
and the team of TRANS-lighthouses for the invitation. I'm really interested in getting to know the other projects that you have been cooperating with. So in this case, I'm going to present a very specific project that develops technology or a service from an understanding of the different particular characteristics of inhabiting the floodplain of the Amazon rainforest in Peru. So I'm just going to give you like the overall diagnosis of the case that we were dealing with to then present the proposal that we worked upon to answer those particular circumstances. So inhabitation in the Amazon rainforest, in the floodplain in particular, is quite dispersed and dynamic. You have small communities that move around as the rivers change in their meanders. And that situation, characteristic of the Amazon, turns into a very hard delivery of basic services in both education and health and others, risk assessment guides, vaccination campaigns. So in the Amazon floodplain in Peru and as well in Brazil and other Amazonian countries, the levels of human development are the lowest compared to the rest of the country. But it will be inviable or not impossible almost for the government to be able to build a health facility, an education facility of primary, secondary school in each of these communities that are sometimes made of 5 or 20 families. So in light of this, the Peruvian government created an itinerant platform for social action, which is this large boat that travels around the Amazon River and also Lake Titicaca and offers all kinds of services. So a system to get your national ID when you're born and you're deceased, a hospital, dentistry services, bank, so an ATM that moves around. The only problem with PS, which is the name of this platform, that I think it's a fantastic project that responds to this particular territory, is that it's a large boat that can only navigate in the Amazon River. So it cannot navigate small tributary rivers. And also during drought season, the boat cannot float. So it can only reach these communities at 3 or 4 months of a year, and then they are isolated. And this situation is getting even worse with climate change, that droughts both in Peru and Brazil and other Amazonian countries have left some communities completely uncommunicated. So in light of this, we developed a smaller boat to complement those services offered by PS. So it's a small boat that can navigate small tributary rivers, can float up to a height of a depth of 1 meter. And it's smaller, so it will not necessarily host a hospital like the PS does, but because of its open floor design, it can host a variety of activities. And the idea would be to have a lot of these smaller boats traveling around year-round in the Amazon floodplain. So it has a metallic base. Then the boat itself was built with locally available materials. So the idea that it would be easy to maintain and to keep upkeep. And it's self-sufficient because it has a water system that treats rainwater on the river so it can be drinkable. It also has solar panels to be able to feed all the electricity needs. So not only light, but also, for instance, a fridge to be able to collect different biological samples, for instance. And it also has a satellite system to be able to be connected. I think one of the biggest developments in the last decade, if not even like less, like 5 years, was the appearance of satellites like Starlink by Elon Musk, not my favorite person on earth, but he was able to bring internet in areas that were completely isolated only 5 years ago. So this allows us to be able to communicate instantly different, like for instance, if it's complementary library for the community schools, it can have an online library. If it's a vaccination campaign, it can hold the records of different patients and instantly share it with the network of the Ministry of Health. So it's a great opportunity to be able to have internet connection while traveling in uncommunicated or hard to reach areas. And as I said, it has like an open plan that can be used for a variety of different services. So it can be a vaccination campaign, it can host different workshops for education, cultural events. It can become a library that complements the primary schools around the area. And it can also offer a place for the different professionals that use it to sleep at night. And right now, we just finished the first prototype. We tested it on the ground. And the next idea would be to be able to offer it for a variety of services, so present it to the Ministry of Education, present it to the Ministry of Health, and present it even to universities in the local area to be able to conduct research and other kinds of services that were not available before because they didn't have a place where they could stay or a place to store all the materials, the lab services and such. So this is where we just finished it last year, at the end of last year. So we're now moving forward on the next phase of seeing how it can be integrated into different already existing programs. So thank you. That will be a very short presentation.
Thank you so much, Belen, also for keeping with such a short time, which allows us for later to have more time for debate. And I very interesting project as I had already known about this project before, and it's really amazing effort that you are doing. And so we will leave the questions, and if you have questions, you can share them in the chat in the meantime, or comments. And but now I will
Gustavo,
give.
Gustavo,
Yes.
just interrupt you because when you were just entering, we just agreed with Giovanni and Belen that before we go to
Yes, because Belen has to go
Charalampos
and
and Giovanni as well. So
as
if we
well,
can
they
use
have
this
to
last
go
minutes
live, yes, for
to
reminding.
raise
Yes.
to make some comments or
Yes.
raise questions that we would like to address with
Yes.
them.
Yes, if there are there any people here that have any comments, that have any questions? I'm going to, yes, I see Ricardo and Charalampos have questions, so I will give the floor to them, and I have also one after. Yes, Charalampos, please.
Hi everyone. Thank you for the great presentations. It's more of a comment to maybe have a short discussion with Giovanni mainly on the use of AI in terms of its integration in digital platforms, because I'm also having considerations about that. But at this time there are some mechanisms to constrain the use of AI and specialize it on specific topics. We've seen, I'm not sure if you're aware of about RAG systems, retrieval augmented generative systems, that you can connect with knowledge bases and give direction to the AI to make more contextualized responses. So in that sense, I believe that today we do have the technology to work efficiently with AI, but the problem is that we need to invest also on capacity building on this kind of technologies to integrate them in participatory processes as well, because it still needs to get the contextual knowledge and the global knowledge together to be able to respond appropriately in any request that you're doing. So just a comment.
No,
Thank you very
I have some answer, but I think it's better maybe that we will listen to all the questions. So maybe
Yes.
we put together the
Thank
answers.
you.
No, it's
Yes. Ricardo.
Yeah. Hello everyone, and thanks so much for the sharing about Giovanni and Belen. And they are two very interesting projects and of course ideas. My question is for Belen. I'm sorry, I have some technical difficulties and I went out for a couple of minutes. So when we presented the prototype you've been talking about is ready from 1 year from now. I guess the picture you showed us is already in the water and covering the Amazon River for last year. And I would like to question you about the major difficulties that you have faced from this last year, and if you have already some insights about the results that you can share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Gustavo.
Yes.
Okay.
Natalie, I think maybe Natalie, you have a
Yeah,
comment also?
I lowered my end because I saw that Ricardo was already addressing a question to Belen, but still I'm curious about what Belen presented today. It's really amazing to see how big is this project. It reminds me another project that I knew in the Amazon in the state of Pará, which was called Abaré, developed by Saúde e Alegria, an NGO in Santarém, in the state of Pará. But I think there are three main aspects that I'm very curious about what you mentioned. First, because it's extremely expensive, the kind of project you are mentioning. It's extremely expensive. You are talking about one of the most remote area in the world. So I would like to understand, to tell us about also this big challenge, which is also linked to the appropriation of this technology and how to make it sustainable. That you mentioned, we want to put it available to local to ministries and etc. So maybe there is here an issue about multilateral funding in this very hectic period regarding international funding. And also, we had in previous webinars an issue about the diversity of people who are involved locally, not only the ones who are coming outside, but all of the ones that you meet in the local communities. So this is already a main challenge. But even one aspect that was discussed is also how is the relation, the human-nature relation, how it is defined and how it is lived by each one of these stakeholders, the ones who implement the project and also the ones who benefit from that. So I'd like to if you can get some details about that.
Thank you, Natalie. I think maybe we'll take those for now because it's quite a lot of things, and I was curious about how you saw those, how Giovanni and Belen, how you saw those your two approaches kind of converging, like because Giovanni was talking about various digital tools, and Belen's talking about other kinds of tools, no? Like, but I wonder if those two, if there is a convergence also. So I don't know about Belen, if you've been also reflecting on how to use these digital tools, especially with the internet access, that the satellite access that you now have, if that is, and I imagine these kind of things might be important for things about efficiency of the resources being used, of the water, and the measurement of the water quality and all of these things. But also, like, is there a space for that to relate to citizen engagement in any way, like the way that Giovanni was talking about? What is the relation as you both see it? So that's, and then we can, yes, please, you have the floor.
Do you want to start, Belen, with more concrete issues, so maybe they can feed also my answer later?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the comments and the questions. I think they're really valuable. Well, yes, funding is an issue. I've been working on participatory social architecture, whatever you may call it, for many years, and I became quite frustrated with it, just because it only reaches the community level, and there are certain responsibilities that the community cannot uptake: health, education, broader services, communication, etc. So this is, I think, the first project that does not necessarily work with a specific community, but with aiming to work with the institutions that do have the resources and funding to be able to improve the access to these essential services. It is an expensive project. It was funded by the Peruvian government, by the Technology Sciences Institute, the Peruvian version of the UKRI, the Research Institute in the UK. And we are now facing like this other challenge, which is that appropriation and a political will to be able to incorporate this, because it's not only about presenting a good idea, but also having in context the current political situation in Peru and other Latin American countries, the political instability, the constant change of presidents and ministers, and we have elections coming up. So there is a lot of political interests and difficulties then in being able to present this project. We are also considering, more than reaching the national government, reaching the regional governments that have a better knowledge of the specificities of the territory. But yes, this goes a little way beyond my expertise as an architect, urban planner, researcher. So we're also in dialogue with other specialists to be able to carry this project forward into the next phase. And I think responding to those like preliminary lessons learned, it will be mostly that, like the challenges to be able to have a sustainable management and use of this boat. It is currently in a national reserve being used by the forest keepers. I don't know how to say that in English, the specialists that keep the national reserve. So they travel around the national reserve and visit not only communities, but also like different posts for laboratory and research work. Because we haven't been able yet to present it to education institutions or health institutions. And I think also responding to the nature versus human based solutions, like in this specific context, these solutions or the context sort of contaminated what we were able to do. So current planning approaches, service delivery approaches by the government do not really reflect an understanding of, one, the territory and how that territory is lived and inhabited. So we sort of de-learned to relearn how to approach the specificities of this territory. And this solution was worked with, oh, well, I forgot to mention like the whole anthropological work we did, ethnographic work. We visited the different communities. And so it is, in a way, co-produced solution that emerged from a more empathetic understanding of the specificities, particularities of inhabiting these hard-to-reach communities.
Thank you very much, Belen. You want to?
I was thinking from what Belen was saying in the last sentence that my answer to Charalampos will start with this consideration that there is a literacy problem, but there is still a large political problem. Technological tools can be used to reinforce a mainstream instead of creating an ecology of knowledge. So Belen said community hard to reach. And there is an interesting study in the UK that is entitled difficult to reach or easy to ignore. That means that there is a political problem. And the difficulty in reaching some people is a good excuse to ignore them. And the problem is exactly, we can pose it in the issue related to knowledges, alternative knowledges, ancestral knowledges, very strongly. For example, depending on the languages, which are the languages in which the AI operates? How much knowledge produced is ignored because is not inside the viewpoint, the frame of an AI. And so we have to overcome the barrier that comes not as a bug in the system, because there are many interesting institutions that today are working on identifying bias, for example, racial bias, gender bias in some of the information where the AI fish, and there are some universities in Italy that do it systematically. For example, for health, they identify bugs in the AI and they complement the archive of information in order to rebalance and retest if the bias is still on. But I think that there is something larger, which is the will to ignore several positions through the excuse of the language, of that they are minorities, that they are not science, and so I think we must work on this. So recently I could test for People Powered, which is an organization based in the United States that federates a lot of professionals that works on participatory democracy in different countries of the world. I helped them to test an AI engine that works on all the archive of participatory democracy they have, which is an important archive. In 1 month and a half between the two tests, I noticed an enormous change. But I noticed also that the producer or the determined bias, for example, in this case is DeepSeek, so it's Chinese, everything related to Tiananmen is censored. So it's funny that it has holes, gaps, very visible, that depends on the producer, and cause you cannot produce your own AI. You can only educate AIs done by others because it's too expensive, and uselessly because you will not be able to have the money to update AI. So now the problem is not tasting thousands of new AI. The problem is building basin of knowledge which are just in the sense that correspond to epistemic justice, not only to fairness in social sense, but also in epistemic sense, and work together. For example, now I'm working with the OIDP, the International Observatory of Participatory Democracy, on trying to fuse their large 25 years long library of knowledge with that of other municipalities, because it's useless, in my view, to ask the AI question that fish only in the pond of participatory methodologies. The problem is that when we apply participation, we want to improve policies. So we have to have knowledge also on quality of innovation in public policies of different types. So the most important to well educate an AI, even a mainstream AI, to a different fairness in terms of epistemic justice, is to federate organizations that can put their knowledge at the service of a common AI that's, bye-bye, Belen, a common AI that can fish and put into relation things related to participatory methodology with human rights, with ancestral knowledges, and even now in a new vision of the agent power of non-humans, including technology, but also nature and rivers and future generation. It's very important to do that in order to have an AI which is ethical in nature, even if the basis has some problem, like the DeepSeek example that I did before.
Thank you so much, Gio. Charalampos, maybe we continue this discussion with your presentation. First, I think Ricardo is in order to as it's the next talk, and Ricardo is Almeida. He's educator and coordinator of the All in Code initiative at CASPAE, with the Center for Social Support of Parents and Friends of the School in Coimbra, Portugal. And his work focuses on the use of digital technologies in educational context, particularly through programming and creative learning approaches. And he has developed and implemented several initiatives combining technology, environmental education, and community engagement, including the Prognatura program, which connects programming, nature-based learning, and school curricula. Thank you, Ricardo. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gustavo. I'm now going to start sharing my screen. Please confirm it. Everything is okay. And if I can start. Yeah?
Not yet. There, yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having us and inviting us. I'm also representing, of course, my colleagues Isabel and Emilia that help us to design this Prognatura project. We are an NGO from Coimbra, like Gustavo said, so we are used to work with schools and in this educational context. And today I'm going to present to you this Prognatura experience, that it's more like a project that aggregates 3 different areas from education. So we have in the center, we can say we have the nature-based learning, and it's mixed with a specific curriculum of students. And then we have technology behind, trying to make it more like, what can I say, like trying to in time that students can still think about what they have done in nature and use technology to build other games projects, and like I'm going to show you. So the Prognatura has 4 main goals. The first one is to ensure that children's rights and provide opportunity for free play and learning based on exploration and problem solving. So of course, the biggest idea here is that when children get out of schools and their usual classrooms and they go to nature for nature-based learning is everything about the free play. So while they are playing, there will be situations where teachers can identify opportunities for them to learn different contents. And that's what's all about. It's mixing the good environment, nature, with the free play of children. The second one is to promote effective environmental education that fosters emotional connections between the individuals in nature, in this case, the children, but also the teachers. The third one, it's about technology. So to recognize the importance and presence of technology in children's daily lives. And the idea here is, like everyone said, and we are discussing that it's impossible to run away from technology nowadays. But how can we use it and combine it with nature and even in schools? And which kind of technology can we use? And it's important for children to understand that technology is present in their daily lives. And the last one, it's obviously to improve students' academic outcomes, and in this case, especially in mathematics. Talking about the methodology of Prognatura, when we designed this program that it's funded by the Portuguese government, it started in 2019. When we designed it, we thought about dividing the nature sessions with the technology ones in 8 per 8, so a total of 16 sessions. So when we talk about sessions, we are not saying 8 consecutive weeks, okay, but it's like more 8 sessions that can go all the school year. And of course, the nature session, when we talk about the duration, are of course longer than the technology ones. So when we talked about 4 to 5 hours per session, of course, we need to have in mind that children need to get out of their schools. They go by foot or by bus to the nearest forest or green space that they have, and where they will spend the whole morning playing, okay? And they are accompanied by a specialized teacher in nature-based learning. In this case of this project, it was my fellow colleague, Isabel. And of course, with the school teacher also, that it's in an ongoing training. After that, so the ideal is that the nature session starts like in the beginning of the week, and after the nature session during that week, we have a technology one. It's about 60 to 90 minutes per session. And of course, in this case, we are doing it already in the classroom, when we can work the contents that they have explored in nature in the previous session. So it's about a total of 40 to 52 hours per program. And of course, I have 3 main ideas from this methodology. And when we are talking about 40 to 52 hours, all the activities are conducted during the regular instructional time. Okay, so this is not one more activity that it's done after school. It's done during their specific curriculum and during their regular instructional time. And the 2 main ideas also with this methodology, it's about the teachers training. So when teachers are going to nature with us, they are in our technological sessions, they are getting what we call the ongoing training throughout the program. And it allows them to learn through observation and participation. This is one of the strategies that we found so that the project didn't end after these 16 sessions. So the idea is that by the end of the 16 sessions, the teachers are expected to be already competent and confident to continue implementing the activities. We don't say that they need to go every week to the nature, or they need to go every week, they need to give a technological session, but at least one time, one day per month, they should do it. So my part in this program, it's related with the technologies. So in this case, the coding, and the way that we can mix coding with nature. And the biggest idea that I want to give you is that is through coding that we can express, children can express themselves. They can build whatever they want and whatever they imagine. It can be a dialogue that they have that day in nature. It's about an animal or a plant that they found, and they just can use it to create a new project, to start coding. And while they are playing with coding, they are continue thinking and speaking and making research about that content. Okay, so they end up doing games about plants, quizzes, mazes, and this is the main idea of coding. It's from them to be able to keep thinking and bring to school and inside the classroom in a motivation way, and they can still think about that content. And for that, because we have other projects, we use the Scratch software. It's what we call a bridge between the outdoor exploration and the follow-up reflection and the documentation that I have been talking about. And with Scratch, children can express what they felt, they discover in the forest, and they use whole type of animation, sounds, dialogues, and other interactive elements that Scratch has to offer. They are not coding alone, so they are in small groups, and that give us a great insight about their teamwork and how they can share stories and moments they have passed in nature, and how they can now get to build some projects. And this is one of the examples I would like to share with you. What we have here, it's Scratch software. It's a program that one group of our children did. So what we have here on the right, it's a simple maze in nature. So we think that in that day, 2 or 3 children found out, for example, a butterfly. It's the main character. They use and they have coded the keys from the keyboard, the arrows from the keyboard to control the butterfly. And in the first instance, she needs to pick up the berries that are on that small tree or bush. And she needs to avoid, of course, the black color. And the main objective is to get to that purple house. But in the middle, they also draw what we see there in orange. It's written there cigarettes. Okay, so that maybe some packs of cigarettes that this group of children saw in nature, and then they made, of course, made it like obstacles in their games. So that those packs of cigarettes move upside down, left and right, and the butterfly needs to avoid them to get to their objective, to the purple house. So, of course, for us it's simple to talk about this, but in the children's head, it's all about the experience, what they felt in nature, what the moment A to the moment B, what made them choose to build this kind of game, this kind of quiz, and why they choose the specific cigarettes in this day to be the obstacle for the butterfly. And on the left, of course, we are not just working about these processes, but also about coding. So we have actual concepts of coding on the left. We can see the events, you can see sequencing, we can see decision structure, we can see cycles. So they need to know if they are touching the black color, they go to those coordinates that are the beginning. Maybe it's playing a sound of losing the game, something like that. If it touches the purple house, we can also see that it's switching the backdrop. So maybe to another backdrop that it's called the end, something like that. So of course, there are a lot of thinking process and critical thinking in building this kind of games, but also always related with their experience in nature. Here I have other 3 examples of this kind of technological activities from Prognatura. On the top left, you can see that it's not all about coding. It's not all about Scratch. You can see that, first of all, this group of children, they needed to think about what they have done in nature. So maybe we have some drawing. You can see that they maybe have discussed a little bit what they have done in this session. So we have drawings, we have sentences, and then they are coding. And you can even see that on the drawing on the left, you have like a buzz, and the girl, it seems like a girl, she has already a buzz on her screen and she's coding it. So it's a perfect example of they need to plan, they need to think what they are going to do, they need to discuss it even before they start working. On the right, you can also see a different example. In this case, we have a group, and on the screen you can see two people. So their sprites are people. We can think that they are representing themselves, and we can see through coding that this is not a game. They are dialoguing. So maybe they are just talking about what they did on their previous nature session, and they are making like a theater, a dialogue through scratch. So they are just expressing themselves and talking about their experience in nature. And the last one on the left, on bottom, you can see that it's all about teamwork. You have a kid that it's using the computer, but the other one, it's not far away. She's interested in what he's doing. So she's with a hand on the paper, on the plan they made. She's actually giving some input of what they are doing. And this is what we wanted to work with them. So all these competences that I have also enlightened it in here. So the designing interactive narratives, creating different characters, the teamwork and shared decision making, discussing and exchanging ideas, of course, the problem solving, so everything about coding, testing and designing algorithms, the composition, of course, of complex problems, and all of this is obviously related with critical thinking development. And so this is the main idea of Prognatura. It's about getting school, getting closer, these two biggest areas that are nature-based learning and technology, and how can we work with the both together. I also would like to just refer really quick to different projects where we are working on. The first one is Kids, and I will let the website over here so you can explore is innokids.eu. The InnoKids is an Erasmus project that promotes educational sustainability urban design. So it's everything about engaging children in creating solutions more ecological for the communities. And the idea, it's a little bit the same. Teachers can in innokids.eu choose from a lot of different lesson plans. I will give you an example. For example, if they need to talk about the good example of bridges in sustainable cities or green places, they can choose one of these topics and present it to the students. The biggest challenge here, it's what we call the Lego-based learning. So every lesson ends with a Lego construction by the students, where they can not only use Lego to build their own, the way they can see these constructions, these bridges, these green places on sustainable cities, but also use other elements from nature, as you can see from this picture, to complete their constructions. For example, these small rocks in that caverns or in that area, something like that. Okay, so this is also InnoKids, and I will invite you to visit the website. And for last, it's something that we have been talking about for the last years, is the gender inequality in the technological areas. And we started a project in 2022 called Make a Lab. The idea of the name is that was that in the beginning we were going to make a laboratory, a lab actually, where that was going to be used by all of the women that wanted to talk about the technology, something like that. But it ended up being another thing. So what we are doing is we are taking these workshops to the high school students in this case. All the pictures, actually, I didn't say that, but all the pictures that you see are real pictures, no AI here. And all these workshops are done like every school years, and the main objective is to promote and motivate the young girls to engage in this field of technology. actually, we have already some results. We have started in 2022, like I told you. Now we have breaking the barrier of the 1,000 participants, female, and more than 50% before and after, by comparison, told us that after the frequency of the workshops, they are more motivated to engage through technological fields, even like a profession. And this gives us, of course, the confidence to continue. So it's all from me. Thank you so much. You can, of course, find us online in our website or Facebook. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you so much. This is really, really interesting work that you're doing. Congratulations for these amazing initiatives, really. Get my daughter involved in these programs, in all of them. And last but not least, we have Charalampos Spanos from the Cyprus Institute. He's a GIS data scientist and research assistant at the Science and Technology in Archaeology and Culture Research Center of the Cyprus Institute. He has an integrated master's degree in architecture from the National Technical University of Athens, and another master's in urbanism from Delft University. And he's currently a PhD student in archaeology and cultural heritage at the Cyprus Institute. And he's focused on the integration of digital tools in participatory heritage practices and community engagement through the Virtual Environment Lab at the previously mentioned Stark Center. So thank you, Charalampos, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Gustavo, let me open the slideshow. What I failed to mention in my short bio is that I am primarily involved in the TRANS-lighthouses project. So I am familiar with the project, and I try to give you a hint of what we are doing as well in TRANS-lighthouses from the perspective of the integration of digital tools in the co-creation process, and specifically the COBA platform that we have used in Strovolos pilot and Brasses pilot to co-design NbS. So the Virtual Environments Lab, first an introduction just to give you a foundation of what we are doing, is working with community engagement with different digital means. One is the GIS application and digital twins to provide more data-informed decision-making settings. And we have been working previously with other stakeholders to see how these platforms that provide this data can really help in the decision-making process and open negotiation and discussion on the desired solutions. We are also working with VR and AR applications to facilitate co-design processes and trigger inspiration and exploration of ideas. So in that context, we are working the TRANS-lighthouses project, and we have the Strovolos pilot. Our pilot is based in Cyprus. Strovolos is in the Nicosia region, and our context and our participatory culture can be framed under this AI-generated image this time, where I showcase what is participation right now in Cyprus. So the main requirement for participation in Cyprus is when we have big projects, either in policymaking or urban regeneration plans, we are required to host a public consultation event after the project is already technically sound. So this brings the community very late in the project, and the community feel disengaged because they have not been involved from the beginning. And even the structure and the way that these presentations happen separates the people who are in the process and the community who is there just to give some final input that is not necessary, that will be taken into consideration. So it creates an us versus them. We have the experts and the non-experts. And at the end of the day, in this kind of presentations, because the community already feels this mistrust to the authorities to participate in participatory activities, we end up with having the usual suspects. They are the people who are often going to these events because they are aware of the projects beforehand or because they have been involved. And the marginalized communities or the local residents are not part of the discussion. And of course, at the end of the day, the projects that are implemented, they lack of local identity because the community feels disengaged and they don't consider the experiences of the community themselves, and they lack resilience because we don't feel the ownership of these places, and we don't feel connected to them. So to respond to that, in the Cyprus Institute, we have developed the COBA platform. This is a digital tool that is used, it's a web platform, so it's accessible by everyone who has access to the internet. And it's a tool that supports NbS co-design for and participatory budgeting. The platform is designed in three main pillars. One is the gamification. We have assigned specific cost scores in each NbS, and we have set some combos of nature-based solutions that the user can use. The second pillar is data visualization, where we use a platform to visualize geospatial data, 360 images of the area, and graphs with environmental indicators so that the community and the user can be aware of what are the local challenges and how the interventions impact the current reality. And the third pillar is the scenario building, which basically means that the user is able to test different solutions, create versions of some scenarios, create different scenarios and and compare them together and end up with the best suited solution. We have tested this tool when we started designing this tool, and in different phases. We have tested it in the European Researchers' Night in Cyprus, where we had different social groups visiting and testing the tool. You can see in the images we have kids from primary school ages to teenagers and adults testing the platform. And the feedback that we got so far is that this kind of facilitation and the visualization of data has a rich educational value, and such tools can be scalable and can be even implemented in different contexts. For example, we had teachers suggesting that we can use this to renaturalize schoolyards. And in the meantime, students will be learning about NbS as an alternative to conventional interventions. We had teenagers, of course, being attracted more of the digitalization, the gamification of the tool, but also starting debating about the different trade-offs that they need to take into account to have the better performance of NbS in social, economic, and environmental dimensions. And even in adults, we have observed that with the interaction with this tool, they started thinking beyond. So how this tool can be transformed in more concrete simulation tools, or how we can integrate more functionalities or more data to make sure that the impact assessment of the tool is more concrete and solid, so that we can be aware of what is the results of our design solutions. In the Brussels pilot, they have also integrated this tool in a co-design workshop where they followed a combination of physical and digital tools because the community felt more comfortable with physical participation. So what the pilot did was to have hard copies of the NbS cards with all the relevant data about each NbS. And then with those cards, they started debating and discussing about which NbS would be more appropriate for the area of intervention, which is, as you can see in the maps, a closed courtyard of a housing block. And they discussed and started debating, and through this discussion, more learnings and unlearnings were triggered as a community felt that some water NbS would not be relevant to them, but then this myth of water NbS being smelly or attracting mosquitoes and stuff were debunked at the moment through the discussion and the debate triggered by the tools. But finally, they did transfer the scenario with the community in the digital platform just to be able to evaluate the impact of their decisions and see how these decisions have a spatial interpretation in the map and what the cost would be and how these solutions improve local economy or the society or nature or the city in general, and understand what are the environmental benefits that derive from these nature-based solutions. And therefore, again, open new discussions on how we can do things differently and how we can change the scenario to have a better performance. In the Strobolos pilot, this time in our local case, we have integrated COPAP in the co-design workshop in three phases. So we did use COPAP to work in groups, and we developed 3 design scenarios. And in our case, COPAP was beneficial because we were able to compare the 3 scenarios based on the metrics of the tool and see which solution, what were the differences between each of the design scenarios. And then these same scenarios, the 3 design scenarios, we gave them to the architect, and then through the web platform, the architect was able to revisit the design scenarios of the community and synthesize them together to see how we can put different qualities in one coherent synthesis and one final design proposal. At the end, we ran a second workshop with the same community that participated in the initial ideation workshop to validate the final design proposal. And what we realized was that the community, not only they were very much involved in the co-design process, they still remembered what were their own suggestions, and they can go back to this memory and realize how this final design solution inherited ideas of their own in this synthesis, and they could recognize those proposals in the final design, which show us that even from the initial phases of the co-design ideation workshop, the community started feeling the ownership of the final design proposal. So just to sum up, I try to be very short in the presentation, but please feel free to give me any questions or open discussion, and I can elaborate more. What I think is very important to have as a takeaway from this presentation is that digital platforms such as COBAP can bridge the gap between experts and non-experts, because through these platforms we give the tools to the community to be able to make more informed decisions and end up with design scenarios that are not only feasible, but they are also technically sound. We can raise awareness and integrate these platforms in education and see how this and see how these platforms, when they are very easy to use, they can overcome some digital diversity, some digital divides from the very young age in the education, especially when the youth is already involved in technology, with technology. Through these platforms, we do attract and engage youth because the conventional participation methods, at least in Cyprus, youth feels that they have no room to give input or to participate meaningfully. But through this platform, we do achieve this. And at the end of the day, we feel we have the community being transformed into co-designers of the public space. So being involved in urban planning is very important, and transitioning from this middle level of tokenism, of consultation, and having the community being the source of data to really transforming community into the ones that make the decisions and have the power to define the space that they live into. Thank you, everyone. I think the presentation will be shared with you so you can test co-op yourself and try it out, and feel free to reach out at a different time if you need more information about it or if you want to suggest more developments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charalampos. Very interesting also, and very much with strong parallels with Ricardo's work. So I'm sure you two will have a lot to talk about and exchange further experiences in the future. Now I wanted to open, maybe some people have questions, comments, before we have maybe like 10 more minutes for discussion before we close this session. Yes, Natalie, please go ahead.
I always have questions.
That's good. That's good. Yes.
No, because this is a very interesting theme that I think that Giovanni and Belen also brought some very different aspects from Ricardo and Charalampos, but trying to focus, in fact, on Ricardo and Charalampos. First of all, I'm a big fan of CASPAE. As Gustavo, my daughter also benefited from the activities of CASPAE, not the Prognature, but another program which is called Invisible Limits, which is about the relation, educating, so playing, and something that is very related to what we had as a challenge in TRANS-lighthouses, since Anna Maria is with us, regarding a video that the ICLD, so the Swedish, I can't remember the rest of the name, but ICLD, one of the partner of TRANS-lighthouse. Maybe I'll put in the chat. There is a video about trying to demystify how educators, parents are afraid of having children playing in nature freely. And it reminds me there is a strong connection with what CASPAE is also doing. But, because they go with the kids in the forest, and I remember at the beginning of the program, the parents were prohibited, were forbidden to go and see what was going on. So that's a kind of experience that is coming from the field. So that's why Ricardo's presence is very important. And Ricardo, you touched also very some aspects that very that are very good for TRANS-lighthouses. Like you bring the InnoKids experience. We have a colleague, Gerd, who is a fan of Lego playing, and so we will send to him also the link, because these are experiences that we could also benefit from your experience. You are a lighthouse for us in this aspect also. So experience coming from the field. You touched also upon a very interesting aspect about gender. So thank you for bringing this. The idea also at the beginning is that we only had male speakers. So we challenged them, and before Belen confirmed, so we wanted to challenge them. Okay, since it's all men, let's help us and bring also the issue of gender. And you brought something also that we would like, we are trying to put transversally in TRANS-lighthouses, gender issues. I would like to ask you about people with disabilities, because we are talking about technologies, and you talked also about accessibility. And maybe I would also extend this question to Charalampos. In fact, there is not only a digital gap in terms of literacy, but also in terms of accessibility. So, thank you.
Okay. Gustavo, can I start? It's okay?
Please, yes, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie, for your input. And I will try to speak a little bit in the time that I have about the 3 points that you have touched. The first one, it's about the invisible limits. Actually, I didn't mention it, but this Prognatura, it's more a fusion from the Invisible Limits project that started a few years ago before Prognatura. And the main idea is that the children should and can know, they can actually know their limits. They are invisible, but they know it. But they need space and time to explore their limits. And it's through the free play that they can discover their limits. And it's not a problem for us to see a child climbing up a tree and learning something about the tree up there and climbing down, and that's fine for us. And the invisible limits is all about that. And I'm sure that if my fellow colleague that I know Natalie knows her, Isabel, was here, she would also have a lot of to contribute in this area. Going through the second point, Natalie, of course, when you mentioned about the kids, just to complete, you have activities there for children, but also for professional educators, not only teachers. So you should explore, you have the whole complete course in the platform. And I think it would be really good for everyone to explore a little bit more about that that Lego-based learning. For the list, the activities now, how can we manage some of these technological and nature activities for the students that have disabilities, like you told us? I'm going to say that actually now, since 2023, we have in programming, we have we are developing in Coimbra for every student of the 4th grade. It's the biggest project that we had so far. It's 1,000 children per school year, and we are providing programming classes to them. And this program was actually built from the disability kids, okay, children, students. So we are, when we started this program, we thought of the inclusion in the other way. So let's do something for disability students, and we are going to include the other students that we be able to do it, of course. But the first thought for us were no one is going to be left behind. Of course, this gives us a lot of challenges. And the first one are, of course, the non-verbal children. And actually, we have others with different problems, but the non-verbal and non-capable are the biggest issues that we need to solve, of course. For them, we try to use the unplugged activities. I don't know if you are familiar with that, our exercise that stimulates the same competences that programming and coding does, but without the use of the computer. So there are a lot of exercises like this ones that we can use, and we are using it, of course. And then we go from level to level, of course, those are the cases that are more specific, but we found one or two from each 5 schools, something like that. But of course, we have the in-between. We have students that are verbal, they are capable, but then they have PhDA, something like that. They have attention deficit, they have
ADHD.
PhD.
ADHD.
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 Thank you so much.
In the spectrum of autism, I think
that's it. Thank you so much. And so we have this, let's call it in between cases. And what we do is we have prepared a whole course structure for the whole year based on these children, and that we can adapt for their colleagues. So yeah, we are working with them in this area, and that's it. So actually, you can also look a little bit about the All in Code project. Like the name said, it's everyone should do it. It's all in, and we go for the code. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. Yes, Charalampos, you want to go?
Yes. Thank you, Ricardo. It's very interesting, to be honest. In our case, we haven't been challenged with accessibility considerations because for the moment being, our community is capable, let's say, of using the tools, but we have been considering that. And for the cases in COPAP, we did focus on having facilitators in each process to ensure that equal participation is there, so everybody can contribute. And we do have drivers of the tool. So at the end of the day, the tool is not used by each participant, but there is a driver that uses the tool, and the rest of the team contributes with discussion and input and debate. But as a general comment, maybe to a response to Natalie, is that it's the same discussion that started before with Giovanni about hard to reach, easy to how
Ignore.
I don't know, ignore. Yes, easy to ignore. So then the hard truth is that the people with disabilities, at least from my personal experience, it's a very big spectrum, and each of the disability has different needs that you need to be able to accommodate. And I would say even in the programming, digitalizing discipline, it's important also to find these specialties that are aware of the tools needed. So in our case, we don't have this expertise in virtual environments lab. So but I understand the needs, and it's very great to hear from Ricardo that there are options out there, and we should be able to have access to this knowledge at least, so that we are aware of them, and in the second phase implement them in our own tools as well.
Thank you, Charalampos. Yes, indeed, this is a very important point of accessibility in general, and to think intersectionally about the different barriers, that different sectors of society might. So we saw the example of women. I mean, children themselves, as a sector of the population to pay attention to, particularly people with disabilities, with various forms of knowledge and physical divergences or differences. And of course, immigrants, we could also think about immigrants in these cases. That might be also a very important sector that we didn't discuss today, but just to leave it there as a consideration for future reflection. Yeah, I think that that today we have seen a really rich possibilities of how to integrate digital tools and non-digital tools, and I really wish to learn more about these tools in practice. And of course, in a presentation, it's one thing, but then I think you have to see them, right, and experience them to read. That's the whole point of really to learn them and to understand them. You really have to experience them. But I'm so very curious, and I see that there is a question here with Ana Maria Vargas. So please, Ana Maria.
Thank you, Gustavo. It's a very quick question to Charalampos about the COPAP, because I scanned the QR code, but do you need, like, it says username and password, but it doesn't say how to.
No, you can check the box, log in as a guest. You have first to accept the terms and then log in as a guest.
Okay, then you just write any username and any password.
No, you don't have to write anything. Just check the box that you accept the terms and conditions of use, and then a new option for logging as a guest, it's there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I think it's and is this something that other municipalities can use, or is this only, I mean, can I go and use it?
You can log in, you can get in and find the location even of your own backyard and start designing. But the reality is that the budgeting component of the NbS is different from locality to locality. So in that case, we do have 3 pilots, one in Nicosia, Strovolos, one in Limassol, that I am testing tomorrow at a conference, and in Brussels, because we did customize the NbS catalog to have the right budget, the right costs and maintenance costs and construction costs of that reality. So you can understand that the euro cost cannot be relevant for UK or, but you can definitely test to see the environmental impact and to try some scenarios. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we are out of time, unfortunately, today, but with deep gratitude here for Charalampos and Ricardo and Giovanni and Belen for their insightful these presentations and everybody for the discussion. And we will continue working together. The series of webinars has finished for now, but I'm sure we will come back to having more such events in the near future, and looking forward to seeing some of you in the summer school that hopefully will be able to take place in Cyprus. All the strength to all of you there in Cyprus, Charalampos. I know it's hard times, so we are with you, and look forward to meeting in person soon.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the week, okay? Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.